Hey guys, how's it going? I'm getting ready to plant 4 different varieties of garlic. I'm super excited because this is the very first crop I'm putting in my brand new raised beds that we just got done. Aaron is manning the camera today. I was going to try to vlog this myself, but I got into it and I figured out that I needed both of my hands, so he's helping me out. So let's run out to the garden and I'll show you where these are going. I'm going to be planting up 2 raised beds today. This is a 3 foot by 6 foot, and I think I can fit quite a bit in here. The second bed is right behind me. Let me show you. It's that one right there. And the reason why I'm splitting the garlic up and not planting it all on one side or in one spot is because this is the actual entrance of the garden. So there's going to be a picket fence right about here with an arbor, and I want when you walk through, I want it to feel balanced. So if you have garlic coming up on one side that has that nice beautiful texture, I want to have that same thing mirrored on the other side. Before I talk to you about all the varieties I'm going to plant today, I just wanted to go over how to plant garlic, period, because no matter what variety you have, you plant it the same way. So we're getting close to the middle of October right now. Typically, I like to have my garlic in the ground like mid to late September. I'm a little bit late, but we've been kind of waiting on this space to be done, and it's all looking like it's perfect. It's ready to go. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look for your heads of garlic. Best place to get these are at your local garden center. You want to look for certified seed garlic. And if you buy garlic from the grocery store, you're kind of gambling because sometimes they're treated with a sprout inhibitor, which makes them not able to produce. Like they'll germinate, they'll come up like this far, and then their tops will start to brown and twirl, and then they don't grow any further. And then sometimes they're not treated and they're fine, so you just kind of are running the risk. So try to find certified seed garlic. Once you have it, you want to separate the whole head into individual cloves. Super easy to do. Just gently pull apart the cloves from the main head there, making sure to not remove the papery skin because that is what keeps the clove able to resist moisture, helps them to not rot. So we'll get all of that done. See, that one's nice. This one had 3, 6, 9, 10 cloves of garlic on that one head. That's really great. So a really important thing, you want to make sure that whether or not you're planting in a raised bed that has nice soil like this, or if you're planting straight in the ground, you want to make sure that you've worked that soil a little bit because like if you've got hard clay, it's going to be hard for these garlic cloves to form a head. So if you can work some compost in and kind of get the soil a little bit fluffy and easy for the plant to grow in, that's ideal. You also want to make sure that it's fast draining. They don't like to sit in a lot of water, and they like full sun. All right, I've got all the cloves spaced out just about roughly 6 inches apart from one another. And the reason why I did it on top of the soil was really kind of just for demonstration purposes only, because I wanted you guys to see, like I'm such a visual person, it helps me to see exactly how to space them. So if you were planting these straight in the ground, you would probably want to make your trench first. So like I said, you want to plant them anywhere from 2 to 3, 4 inches deep even. So you want to make your trench however long you want your row to be, and then you would space these out right at the bottom of the trench instead of on top of the soil like I did here. So when you get ready to plant, you want to make sure that you plant the pointy side up, and it's very easy to tell. See right here, that's the base where the roots will come out. It's always a flatter area, and the pointy side goes up. So like since my soil is so lofty, I'm just going to push this about 3 inches down under the soil, kind of like that, and it's planted. So if you were gardening in a trench, you would just lay these all out at the bottom of the trench and then just cover them over with soil. I don't expect I'm going to be able to push these in this soil like this every year. The soil is just so nice this year. I love it. So you can plant garlic in the spring. Like if you don't get to it and it's springtime and you want to still plant garlic, you still can. The benefit of planting it in the fall is that even in the wintertime, there's still root activity going on. So especially if you can get it planted a little earlier in the fall, they may even poke up through the ground. If it snows on them, they're totally fine. They're really tough. But they typically will form bigger heads if you plant in the fall, as opposed to the spring. So I got this bed all planted. This one is ready to go. Now I'm going to move over to the other bed and get the rest of it planted. Before I plant this bed, I want to show you all the 4 varieties I'm growing because I don't have a lot of some of these, and I want to show them to you before they're underneath the soil. So the whole first bed I planted is this variety here. This is called Italian. You can see the head right here, really nice shaped head. Italian is actually my very favorite garlic that I've ever grown. Of course, I haven't grown a whole bunch of different varieties, so maybe there's something else out there that I would think was my favorite, but I think this has a really good flavor. It's a strong flavor. It's a really classic garlic flavor that kind of builds. I like to do a lot of Thai cooking, and it's my favorite one for that. It is a hardneck, as far as hardneck goes, I'll explain the difference in a minute between hardneck and softneck garlics. Hardnecks typically don't store very well, but Italian does. It lasts all the way through the winter. In fact, I'm usually using on it still when I'm ready to plant the next year's crop. So it usually lasts, if you've got a really cool place, up to like maybe 9 to 12 months. And they're very easy to peel, the cloves are, and I am really appreciative of that. Don't know about you guys, but if you have come across garlic that the papery skin is super hard to get off the cloves, it can be a huge pain. So Italian is a really good beginner garlic, I think, because it's really easy. So the second variety I have here, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but this is called Red Toch, T-O-C-H. This is the only softneck garlic I'm growing out of the whole bunch. And the reason why I am growing one is because they typically have a longer shelf life. So they're better in storage. So I wanted to have at least one variety that would last a really long time. It's also very pretty. I mean, you can see the beautiful coloring on the skin there. Usually these ones produce about 8 cloves per head, and they've got a really nice kind of spicy flavor. Then we've got German red, which I don't have very much of. I've grown this one several times, and I really like the flavor. You can see how nice and big these cloves are. I love that. They're very easy to peel as well, and I think that that's a huge benefit. And then we have Chesnock, which, look at this. Look at how pretty that garlic is. Like, just for that alone, I like to grow it. So this one is probably your best, out of these 4 anyway, your best all-around garlic, because you can use it for anything. It's got a real it's a strong garlic, but when you bake it, it turns really sweet. So not only do you have like just the garlic flavor, you actually have a real sweetness to it. So it's really, really great used that way. I even read somewhere that people said that this variety is the best to make garlic ice cream, which I think is gross, but to each their own. So in this bed here, I'm going to be planting all 3 of these varieties. I'm just going to kind of split it up, probably planting more of the Chesnock than the other 2 varieties here. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. I wanted to explain the difference between a hardneck garlic and a softneck garlic, because if you have done any research about garlic, you probably have seen those terms come up. So the difference is hardneck garlic, like these 3 varieties here, they form a really hard, long flower stem that comes right up the central part of the bulb. So they'll come up, and it's called a scape, and they'll form another bulb at the top of the scape. So I mean, they might be this tall, and then there'll be what appears to be another small head of garlic. They produce little bulbs up there. Once that scape is mature, you can actually harvest the bulbs off those and plant them, but it usually takes 2 or more seasons for them to actually form a nice head of garlic. Hardneck are typically better for colder growing zones as well. So if you live in a really tough winter climate, you want to look for hardnecks. They don't store quite as good as a softneck, but I find if you have the right storage conditions, if you have a cool basement or a root cellar or something like that, I don't notice a huge difference between my soft neck and hard neck in terms of storage. And the last thing about hardneck is that they typically form their cloves in a single layer. So they'll have the stem in the middle, and then all of their cloves will come off apart from that stem right there. And then softneck garlic, and I don't have a full head here. I didn't even think about it when I was pulling this apart, but I'll try to find a picture of a head of softneck. But they form, instead of a single layer of cloves, they'll have multiple layers. So they'll have a layer here, another layer on the outside. They're also called like artichoke garlic because they kind of layer like that. They typically store better. They're usually better for a milder climate, but I find I grow in a zone 5, so it can get down to -20-ish here. My softneck tends to do well in our growing zone. But if you live in a milder area, the softneck might be best, and it's the best for braiding. If you like the look, if you've ever seen the braided garlic or like garlic wreaths, typically you are using you are using a softneck because it's not hard. I mean, you can't braid this. There's no braiding that. When you have a head of softneck, it's really flexible and you can braid it up, and it's really, really pretty. With hardneck, they typically form like 8 to 10 good sized cloves. With softneck, they can even produce up to 40 per head. I mean, they can be quite large, but that's mainly because they're not putting any energy into forming a long flower stem and then producing more bulbs at the top. So they have a whole lot more energy to send into forming their head down at the base. Okay, so now I'm going to plant. So fertilizing your garlic is pretty important because they are heavy feeders, and the more you fertilize them, really the bigger the heads you'll get. Now, I didn't add any fertilizer in today because this is brand new soil. It was mixed with really nice compost, so there's a lot of nutrients in the soil, and I know that. If I didn't know that, or if this soil had been here for quite a long time, I would have worked in some starter fertilizer, something like this right here. This is Biotone starter fertilizer. It's really good for root development. I would have added that in first before putting my garlic in, either working it into the soil, or if I were trenching it rather than pushing the cloves down, I would have sprinkled it at the bottom of the trench. And that would just help kind of stimulate new roots to form. And then I will follow up. So in the spring, I will fertilize, and I'll use Garden Tone, which is a really good like vegetable and just general plant fertilizer. And I'll probably use that twice. So I'll use it maybe early-ish spring, and then again late spring. And then the garlic that you plant in the fall, you typically harvest right around 4th of July. That's kind of when we start watching it. So you can kind of tell when it needs to be harvested because the tops will start to turn brown and they'll start to die back, and that's when you know that it's ready to be harvested. And now I'm going to water them in. In this fall, I really won't have to do much because I expect we'll probably be getting somewhat of a consistent moisture, maybe some rain here and there, and then we actually have predictions of snow happening before October is even out, and I hope that that is wrong. I hope we're not going to get snow already, but fall time watering is just basically by eye. So I'll just water it in really well today, fully saturate the soil, and then when it looks like it's dried out, I'll probably come out here, finger test it, stick a couple fingers down in that soil, make sure that I'm not watering it if it still has moisture. If it's dried out, a couple inches below the surface, then I'll re-wet it down. So it's just kind of depending on your weather. If you have a lot of wind, or if you have an extra long dry spell, you might have to water more often. So like I said, the garlic this fall might come up. It might poke through the soil. I might have little cute garlic coming up throughout all of these beds. I might not. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're super tough. If the greens come up, it can snow on top of them, and then the snow will go away in the spring and they'll keep on growing. If they don't come up, they'll probably just come up in the spring and we'll be just fine. So that is pretty much it. I'm going to water them in now. So this one's all nicely watered in. You can see in the front of each bed I have an actual spigot. We will be hooking all of the beds up to their own individual soaker hose type drip system, but I just didn't want to get all of that set up this winter and have them go through a whole winter. I'm not sure what it's going to be like. So I'm just going to wait for spring for that. So when I need to water these this fall, I'm just going to string my hose out and water them that way. So that is it. That is how I plant garlic. I'm so excited for this whole project. I'm excited that we actually get to show you from start to finish. I mean, this whole area from being totally bare to having raised beds to now actually planting something in them. It's so much fun. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.